Hey, what up, guys? Coming to you with another What's Next. This is on my number one lightweight in the world right now and my number two pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Vasyl Lomachenko, the unified lightweight champion. Lomachenko is coming off of, he hasn't fought since last September when he dominated Luke Campbell over 12 rounds, a convincing 12-round unanimous decision as he added the WBC title to his, collection of belts. He has a WBA and WBO belts still, but he gave up the WBC real title and is the franchise champion, whatever the fuck that means. But be that as it may, he's in line next to take on Teofimo Lopez to add another title, the IBF world title. Lopez is undefeated. He won that title with a very impressive second-round TKO over Richard Comey back in December. And now these two guys are just waiting around for, the coronavirus pandemic to, the restrictions to be lifted and boxing to get back to normal. So once that happens, these two guys can get back in the mix and with the world titles on the line. So personally, I think Lomachenko is going to dominate Lopez in that fight and unify all the belts. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think Lopez is seasoned enough. I don't think he's ready for the kind of fighter and boxer that Lomachenko is. And I think Loma will add those belts. But after that, we're going to get into what's next for Loma. What is he going to do next? He hasn't talked about what he's going to do next. So let's run through some options and go from there. We start, obviously, so what's next for Vasyl Lomachenko after he beats Teofimo Lopez and unifies world titles again? We start with, obviously, Lomachenko's number one. The undefeated Teofimo Lopez in a rematch. Would they fight again? If the fight's close, then yeah. Lomachenko, if it's a good enough fight, I think he'd fight Lopez again if Lopez gave him a good fight. Absolutely, I think it could happen. If Lopez beat Lomachenko, would they fight again? Absolutely. I don't think Lomachenko is gonna take a loss lightly. If he gets caught with a big punch or Lopez ekes out a close decision, then yeah, definitely, I think these two guys would lock horns a second time. So for sure, could see that happening. Definitely. So we'll see what goes down there. Personally, like I said, I think Lomachenko is going to dominate and win a clear decision, but you never know. So we'll see. Number three is a rematch with Jorge Linares. Now, Linares wants the fight, but I believe Linares is going to get knocked out against Ryan Garcia when boxing resumes. He's pretty much has that fight set up. I think he's going to get knocked out and maybe retire, but he definitely wouldn't be an option for Lomachenko after that. Number four would be a rematch with Luke Campbell. I don't think so. Campbell's putting himself in line, I believe, for the WBC title. I think Campbell will be coming off an interim title fight win over Fortuna and be lined up to face Devin Haney. And Lomachenko, without a title around Campbell's waist, I don't think he'd be interested in fighting him anyway, so I don't see it. Number five, undefeated WBA regular champion Gervonta Davis. Now, would the WBA mandate this super fight to happen? I think they could. I think the WBA might say, hey, we want this fight to happen and force it, and that would force Gervonta Davis to make a decision. If his people really want him to face Lomachenko, or if it's just for show and they want, that it's just all talk, because I think this is a way to force the fight to happen, because Lomachenko's a super champion for the WBA and Gervonta Davis is a regular champion. I believe Gervonta Davis is going to be coming off his biggest win anyways over Leo Santa Cruz. So why not these two guys lock horns and go at it? I have to lean towards the less likely that I don't think Davis really wants to fight next. So sadly, I don't think he's going to go after it. I think he'd rather vacate the regular title, it's a secondary title anyways, than face Lomachenko. So I hate saying that, but that is what I think is going to go down. Number six is a showdown with Richard Comey. I don't see it. They're both promoted by Top Rank, but I don't see Comey hasn't done anything since the knockout loss to Lopez, and I just don't see him being a big enough name and bringing anything to the table for Lomachenko to fight him. Number seven is Javier Fortuna. Win or lose in Fortuna's next fight, he's likely facing Luke Campbell for the interim WBC title. If he wins, he's in line for Devin Haney, and if he loses, he's a guy that fights for the PBC that isn't a big name, and he's coming off a loss. So I don't think Lomachenko's interested. The fight would be available either way, so I'm not seeing it. Number 8 is French contender Ivan Mendy. Not seeing this one. Doesn't bring a big name to the table, so I'm not seeing it. Number 9 is Lee Selby. Now, there's an outside chance that he could face the former featherweight champ Lee Selby, and here's why. Lee Selby's currently number 1 in the WBO, and he is going to be fighting George Kambosos in an IBF title final eliminator in his next fight. So I think Selby going in is the favorite just because he's the veteran, but it doesn't mean he's locked in to win. So I think there's a chance that Lomachenko can to hold on to all his belts. If he can't get the big fight that he desires, then he might just say fuck it and face Selby. But honestly, I'm leaning towards the less likely. I think Loma would rather just vacate belts at this point than have to face a bunch of mandatories that wouldn't mean anything. So I think he's looking for pretty big fights, and as long as there's 1 or 2 belts on the line, I think he's okay with that. And I think he should be. I think he should go after the bigger names. So I think it could happen, but I don't think it will happen. And then finally, number 10 is Ricky Burns, the former Ford Division world champion. Yeah, this fight can happen. Burns is I'm sorry. Why did I say that? I don't believe him and Burns happens. Burns hasn't been relevant for a while. At lightweight. He lost his last fight to Lee Selby. Burns would have to either win a world title or do something major, and he's just not a big enough name anymore. He's an older fighter. Nobody would think that he would beat Lomachenko. So yeah, I don't see this fight happening as much as I'd like to see it. Which actually, I take that back. I wouldn't. I'm a little distracted right now, guys. I just don't think Lomachenko would go for it. So other than that, what are other options? I don't think there's an option that he moves up in weight, but I do think there's an option he moves down in weight. Or here's one thing that I really think could happen. I'm a firm believer that him and Miguel Berchelt is a strong possibility to happen next, because there's not going to be any other big names, immediate big names that Lomachenko would have to fight at 135 pounds at lightweight. And Miguel Berchelt took over the division when Lomachenko moved up, and he has dominated the division and proved that he is the best junior lightweight in the world right now at 130. So he, in my opinion, is going to be coming off of a big win over Oscar Valdez, an impressive win. So I really think Berchelt can move up to 135, or Lomachenko can move back down to 130, where there's a lot more ESPN fighters, and he could go after some of the names down there. Another name that's out there that I think is possible that I'm going to throw out is a showdown with Carl Frampton. Frampton could pull off an upset over Jamel Herring, and that would make him somewhat attractive. 3-division world champ, he has a name. That would make him somewhat attractive to Lomachenko, even though I don't think he stands a chance in hell of beating him. I think it would be an attractive fight. Another option is Jamel Herring. If Herring somehow pulled off the upset, impressively beat Carl Frampton, he's an American champion at 130. He holds the same version of his 130-pound title that Lomachenko has at 135. I think this fight could be possible, but I don't think Herring is a big enough name, and I don't think people would be as interested in Herring, so I'm not seeing it. But I definitely think it's possible since he's with Top Rank. So those are some of the bigger names that, would be coming off of possible major wins. I don't think Shakur Stevenson yet would be an option. Even though I'd like to see the fight, I don't think yet he would be an option for Loma. But you never know. But at that point, I'm not seeing it. But I really, really wholeheartedly believe Miguel Berchelt is going to be the hot option for Lomachenko after he deals and handles Teofimo Lopez. So that's it. That's my what's next on my number 1 lightweight in the world right now. The reigning and unified lightweight champion and one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in boxing, and in my opinion, the most talented fighter in boxing right now, Vasyl Lomachenko. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.